sincere thanks and to the professional and capable staff at DETR and our partners throughout the state who are working through historical volumes of unemployment claims. I want to extend my sincere thanks for the work that you're doing. I'd like to start today with an update on the unemployment insurance, and then I'll go over pandemic unemployment assistance. So if we could bring up our unemployment insurance pie chart. Thank you. Standard unemployment insurance, of course, is for individuals who lose their job through no fault of their own. These are people whose employers paid into unemployment insurance and who earned both enough wages and worked enough hours to be eligible for benefits. As of May 30th, we have 529,646 total claims that have been filed for standard unemployment insurance on the UINV site. Of those claims, 166,428 were not eligible for standard unemployment insurance. Of those eligible filers who filed weekly claims, 276,418, or approximately 88% of those eligible claims, were successfully paid. That's a number that's up from our previous week. There were 9,306 filers who were employed or were not eligible because they had earnings for that week that was greater than the weekly benefit amount. This could be people who got a job or were paid out leave that was over their weekly benefit amount. 5,604 claims had insufficient hours and or wages to be paid UI benefits, at least for this week's time period. 38,500 individual claimants did not file for the week. This number is down from previous weeks, which is a good sign. These are folks who started but did not finish their weekly claim, or they never started, or they reported that they were not going to file a claim for this week. Federal law requires that filers file weekly claims in order to receive payment. Finally, there are 33,310 pending claims. Again, this is another decrease from the previous week. These are filers whose claims are being held because federal and state law require DETR to adjudicate those claims. This number is down from previous weeks and continues to decline as DETR staffs up and works diligently on resolving outstanding claims, both through human intervention and through automated fashion. DETR has paid out a total of over $3 billion in combined unemployment benefits. We continue to actively look for types of issues that we can make group technical changes and release payments. These changes have to conform with the unemployment insurance law and regulation. There are some flexibilities that have been provided by the Department of Labor and the governor's emergency declarations that we are using to and leveraging to automate and process batch jobs. Now I'd like to move on to a question and answering questions that we've received about PUAH and providing some data. I'll do my best to address these questions that we've received, and I also want to let everyone know that we created a PUAH glossary of claim statuses and terms that can be found at deter.nv.gov/PUAH. Scroll to the bottom of the page and you'll find our glossary. First, let's look at the numbers, and if we could take a look at our PUAH chart, that would be helpful. As of 7 a.m. today, June 12th, there have been 116,996 initial PUAH claims successfully filed, with a total of 1,058,447 weekly claims filed. This data indicates that from that 116,000 plus initial claims, an estimated 35,600 claimants have not filed weekly claim. 80% of the initial claims do not have weekly claim filings. Just like with UI or state unemployment insurance, PUAH claimants of the 80,000 plus eligible claims, DETR has paid 47,582 individual claimants, for a total of $355.8 million in PUAH and then PUAH federal pandemic unemployment compensation dollars. Of the remaining eligible unpaid PUAH claims, many have eligibility issues that are being actively resolved. Payments are being processed on a daily basis. 60% of the stop payments eligible for PUAH, and they're released for payment as soon as we review them. DETR is constantly seeking ways to batch process these release payments as soon as possible. About 40% of the unpaid claims are either ineligible for PUAH or eligible for standard unemployment insurance. According to the CARES Act, DETR must ensure that PUAH claimants are not eligible for standard unemployment insurance prior to making PUAH benefit payments. Once DETR has determined that a claimant is in fact eligible for PUAH, we pay on the self-attested wages and adjudicate that precise wage after the fact. Adjudicating wages on the back end of a claim is not in standard unemployment insurance, but the CARES Act does allow for this flexibility in PUAH, and the department is using this option. Many of the PUAH claims have been identified as potentially fraudulent. DETR has implemented various measures to proactively resolve and freeze payment and investigate both known and suspected fraud. We are coordinating with other states and entities to stop fraudulent claimants or claims prior to payment. Many individuals and organizations have reached out with concerns about PUAH and standard UI fraud. If you suspect fraud, please file a report with DETR's fraud unit by visiting detr.nv.gov. Finally, an estimated 35,600 initial claims have had no claims filed. And as I said before, per federal law, claimants for both PUAH and UI or unemployment insurance must file weekly claims for every week eligible in order for DETR to pay on those claims. Okay, we can take the chart down and we can talk about some other questions. There are a variety of different ways for PUAH claimants to receive PUAH funds. DETR recommends that either the direct deposit into an FDIC banking institution or a DETR-issued debit card. Many PUAH claimants requested debit cards, and we have now automated this process. So all claimants who requested debit cards have been mailed their cards, and moving forward, all claimants who request a debit card will receive their card in the mail within 7 to 10 days of submitting a claim. We have received many questions about the PUAH 21-day requirement to provide documentation. This 21-day period begins at the date of initial claim filing. The requirement is that claimants must provide documentation within 21 days to align with the self-attested wages on their claim. Many claimants have also asked about their claim status that reads, in quotations, PUAH other program eligibility, end quotations. This is a claim status that requires a DETR representative to check for one or more of the following prior to making payment. We must check for unemployment insurance eligibility. We must check on the requirements and the ability to pay federal pandemic unemployment compensation. We must check on wages that are in another state. We must check on a potential for combined wage claims, or we must check on standalone unemployment insurance eligibility in another state. Federal law prevents claimants who are eligible for UI from obtaining PUAH benefits. DETR must determine if a claimant has the potential to file for an alternate base period claim that would allow for them to get access to regular unemployment insurance. As I said earlier, we've discovered that about 40% of the claims with this status are eligible for unemployment insurance. Claimants will get an electronic determination that tells them they don't need PUAH. We've also received questions about what a PUAH claimant should do if the portal is not allowing them to backdate their weeks. This is a scenario that occurs not for everyone, but as a result of the dates that a claimant enters for their day that they separated from employment. Individuals who want to file weekly claims further back than the date that they indicated they separated from employment must call the PUAH call center and ask to have their claims backdated. Claims can go back to the last Sunday of the week that a claimant separated from employment. Tens of thousands of PUAH claimants have been calling the PUAH call center, and DETR has been made aware of robocallers that have been jamming our phone lines. Our vendor and our staff have deployed technology, robocallers, from getting through, with the hopes that this will allow many more calls to be connected to a customer service representative. DETR's PUAH vendor is actively recruiting, call center vendor is actively recruiting, hiring, and training call center representatives and adjudicators to assist with the high volume of claims that we are currently working through. A few more general updates. The Employment Security Division is actively hiring and training staff for the Unemployment Division to assist with claims, adjudications, and for fraud detections on standard unemployment claims. Between the cloud-based phone system implementation that is currently actively being implemented, the hiring of additional staff, and the resolution we've had with our phone services providers, DETR has seen a standard UI phone queues stay open for longer periods of time, resulting in more calls getting through to claims staff on a daily basis. As the state works to phase in our reopening, DETR is closely working with our workforce development partners throughout the state. We're ready and working on assisting Nevadans to get back to work. The department will begin reporting on these efforts in our weekly press briefing in the weeks moving forward. One final thing: for the best way for an unemployment insurance and PUAH claimant to find up-to-date information on their claim is to log into their account at either UINV for a standard unemployment insurance or EmployNV for PUAH unemployment assistance. We continue to work on refining our guidance and other documentation, and we're working closely with our IT staff to explore technological solutions that we can leverage to provide a better service delivery to Nevadans. Thank you for your continued interest and collaboration. And Rosa, if there are other questions I should answer, please let me know.
Are you ready to take questions now?
Yes, I am. I can hear you.
Oh, great. Thank you. Our first question is from Jacqueline Schultz of KVVU. You previously explained to lawmakers how the pending UI cases are among the most difficult to resolve and why a completion date is a moving target. Could you please elaborate on why this is the case?
Yes, thank you, Jacqueline. So the existing bucket of folks who are waiting and pending adjudication, the bulk of those individual claims have separation issues. So for whatever reason they separated from their employment, either their employer is disputing the separation and disputing the unemployment benefits, or there is some other complicated requirement for us to adjudicate and speak with individuals in order to determine whether or not we can make payment. So that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about the existing claims being some of this tricky. When I'm talking to lawmakers about our adjudication timeline, it changes daily because we're continuing to add additional staff who are being trained actively on adjudicating claims, and we're working on automated processing for adjudicating claims in batch fashion. So there is no distinct timeline that I can provide because we're continuing to speed up these processes on a regular basis.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next question is from Michael Shoro with the Review Journal. You did already touch on this, Director, regarding the expansion of staff for Alorica and ours, but the additional question from Michael is DETR and Alorica call centers thinking about or considering to change hours of operation for receiving calls to help with the volume?
Right now, we're working on primarily making sure that calls can get through by implementing new phone systems, by addressing technological issues where robocallers were jamming and maybe continuing to jam the PUAH lines, and hiring additional staff.
Thank you. Our next question is from Sabrina Hudson at the Review Journal. A lot of people are having issues connecting with adjudication, not just PUAH filers. Could you provide an update with regards to adjudication?
As the data I showed earlier, for unemployment insurance, we have pending issues of about 33,000 plus. That is currently being worked on both through our automated and with our adjudication unemployment insurance staff. With PUAH, we are working on paying out claims, determining final eligibility, and that is actively happening all day, every day in a combination factor with both our DETR staff and the adjudication staff with Alorica. And so we, like both charts that we provided earlier, give a good picture of what that looks like.
Thank you very much. Could you elaborate on the difference between, for claimants, about applying for PUAH, eligibility for PUAH and UI? Do they have to apply for one first versus the other?
So the CARES Act requires that the department and all states determine whether or not an individual is eligible for any unemployment insurance, whether it's in our state or another state, prior to allowing for a PUAH payment. And so individuals must be file. I mean, if you believe yourself to file or to be eligible for PUAH, then please file a claim and subsequent weekly claims. And if the determination from our staff is that you are more eligible for, or more likely eligible for unemployment insurance, then we'll make sure to notify you as such. However, we are accepting as a form of documentation any kind of denial for UI benefits in the PUAH portal, and we recommend that you upload that as your documentation.
Thank you very much. So one of the other questions is regarding the call volumes on the Alorica hotline. Are calling in and they wait for a certain time and then they get hung up. Could you elaborate as to how that particular system works?
The call center at Alorica is a constant refinement or work in progress, and we are working closely with them to try to find ways to ensure that legitimate callers are getting through and that robocallers are not jamming all of our lines. So we recommend that if you don't get through the first time, that you follow the IVR menu and call back as per the direction.
And then our final question is, folks still cannot get through. So, and I believe you touched this on your presentation slightly, is the best method or methodology for contacting claim representatives for PUAH still through the call center?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I've got.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.